The history of Senegal before and after enduring slavery. After the Mali Empire collapsed, there were a lot of small little kingdoms and tribes in modern day Senegal. Because of this, it was probably easier for the colonizers to take over. Before the little tribes and kingdoms dotted the area, the Mali Empire had control. The Mali Empire looked like this. After the Mali Empire collapsed, you couldn't really tell that the Mali Empire was 100% Muslim because after the collapse, there were little small kingdoms that practice Islam, but some practice folk religions. The history of the history of the slave trade in Senegal started around when the first Europeans came to Gory Island and set up a trading outpost near the mouth of and also set up trading outposts near the mouth of the Senegal River, which is here. The Senegal River forms most of Senegal's border with Mauritania, and then the Senegal River breaks off to the Felem River to form the Senegal's border with Mali. That's the modern day country of Mali. But let's go back to Gory. Gory Island is a volcanic island just off the coast of Senegal, about a 30-minute ride from Dakar port. I have been there. Nobody really knows who were the first colonizers to come and no and what order they come in. Altogether, 4 colonists came in all. My understanding is that the Portuguese came to the island first, and also set up a trading outpost of the city of Salé. And then the Dutch acquired the island, and then French got it during the Dutch-French Wars, and after during the Napoleonic Wars, England got it. And then in the Napoleonic Wars, England got the island and occupied it and built some bases on it. Also, all the colonizers built bases there, and then England said to France, "If you guys abolish slavery, we'll give you back the island." And then and then France said, "Okay, fine, Brits." Some historians say whoever controlled the Gory Island had control of the whole slave trade. Others say Gory Island only had a small presence in the slave trade. There were probably multiple colonizers in Senegal's mainland at one time. My theory is that Senegal set up a small base near the sea and just bought and abducted individuals and took them as slaves. Here's are probably 3 ways that they obtained slaves. 1, by buying slaves, and 2, by going on to expeditions finding individuals, and maybe subduing whole tribes. Sometimes indigenous people will help them capture slaves, help them navigate the terrain there. These men might have been slaves themselves. I think these picture states it the best because you can see the black guy enslaving the other blacks. 3, by making deals with the tribes, they will go to war, and other tribes, the other tribes, the other tribes will give them their prisoners. When you got to Gory Island now as a slave, they would weigh you. If you weighed, I think, more than 70 kilos, they will give you you could be sent across the sea. But if you haven't reached that weight, they would feed you a diet of rice and black eyed peas to fatten you up. All children from their 2 to 12 were locked up in chains in one room, where boys and girls shared one room. If you were older than 12, they would weigh you. If you didn't, if you didn't weigh the right amount, they would put you on the diet. Boys older than 12 and girls older than 12 were kept in different rooms. Once at 12, they consider you man. Once you're 12 for a girl, they consider you a woman. Gory Island now. A lot of the buildings on Gory Island that were slave houses and command centers for the colonizers would have been repurposed into museums, restaurants, shops, and homes. I don't understand why you would want to live in a slave house that was repurposed. After the Napoleonic Wars, France abolished slavery and got Senegal back. But when they came back. They found a lot of tribes and kingdoms running around, so they had to put these ones down. One of these kingdoms that they had to put down were the Trar. The kingdom of Trar wasn't in Senegal, but it was in southwest Mauritania. And I think it's important because they were about to merge with the kingdom of Walu, which before they were trying to unite, the Trar often raided the Walu. The Walu were on the other side of the Senegal River. When the French colonizers heard that Walu and Trar were trying to unite, they stopped it. I don't know if they stopped it peacefully, but these two kingdoms didn't unite. I don't know if they stopped it peacefully, but these two kingdoms didn't unite. But in the 1840s, more French aggression and France building more forts and factories and ports, prompting the two kingdoms to try to unite again. But this time, France decided to raid the Trar kingdom again. And another kingdom we're going to talk about is the Kayor kingdom. It also split from the Judith Empire. It was the most powerful and largest kingdoms of all the ones we're going to talk about here. It occupied the regions of Dakar, Louga, and slightly occupied the region of Durbo in modern-day Senegal. Kayor was also conquered by the French. Another kingdom is the Balu kingdom. The Balu was a kingdom that was formed when it broke off from the Judith Empire in 1515. The leader of the empire, called Tigri or Atin, residing in the capital city of Dubru, which is an hour drive away from where I lived in Senegal. Dorbo is in the Dorbo region of Senegal. The Balu got popular because of its horses that were built very well and strong. The kingdom was ruled by a mix of two dynasties, the Juf dynasty and the Fey. The kingdom Balu also went to war with the French. The war started in 1859. Most of Balu was conquered by 1874, but wasn't fully conquered until 1894. The war lasted for almost 3 years, 3 decades. The next kingdom is that we're going to talk about, the kingdom of Saloum. The area which used to be Saloum is now Kaolack, Faituk, and Kofran regions of Senegal. The kingdom is south of the kingdom of Sinai and Kayor. The capital city is called Kahor. It's on the banks of the Saloum River. I used to live a 15-minute drive away from Cajon. All the wars that we talked about crippled Senegal's infrastructure. All of these kingdoms fiercely fought too, and also all of these kingdoms were Muslim. One of the people that struggled in Senegal was Sheikh Ahmed Bamba. One of the reasons why the French considered him a threat is because he told his followers to be very hardworking Muslims. He also taught his followers to a certain type of dhikr that they would do every day. Also encouraged his followers to read poetry about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And another reason is because they saw how much they would obey him and follow him, so they listened to his teachings. One person who listened to his teachings so much would neglect some of his 5 daily prayers, which is very worrying because it's one of the 5. The 5 daily prayers is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Obviously, Sheikh Ahmed Bamba frowned upon this. When the French saw how much Sheikh Ahmed Bamba influenced his followers, they were worried. So they accused Ahmed Bamba of starting a rebellion against the French in the name of jihad. Sheikh Ahmed Bamba actually supported the French during World War I because he believed they were protecting Muslim lands, which doesn't really make sense after all, because France was invading Muslim lands too. So when they accused him, they said they sent him to their colonization base in St. Louis, Senegal. Also, St. Louis was the administrative capital of French Africa. And before he was tried by the consul, he prayed right in front of them, which probably turned the French colonizers off even more. He spoke to them about his message, and they just decided to exile him to the jungles of Gabon. This is where they sent French. It was where the French sent people who threatened the French presence there. They didn't want to execute him because it would be murder. After Ahmed Bamba endured his time in exile, he returned to Tuba, where he lived before. After a while, the French decided to exile him, this time to Martinique. This time, they sent him to Martinique, where he was accompanied by other sheikhs and scholars that made him even richer in Islamic knowledge. He eventually died in Tuba and lived from 1953 to 1926, living until 73. He also lived under house arrest before he died. Senegalese men did fight in the world wars. Senegalese men that fought in World War II were called Tutaliers. Let's talk about Senegal's history during World War One, II. Before the men, Senegalese fighters were promised equal pay. We all know how that went. When the Axis power conquered France, and the Senegalese fighters stayed true to their colonizers and started with the French rebels. Since France was under Nazi control and Africa was too, there were attempts to take back French Africa by the Allies invading Dakar, which is under Nazi control. That didn't work. France was liberated by the Allies against the Senegalese troops from France, helped push out the Nazis again. After the war was over, the Senegalese troops were taken to military camps after they would be taken back to Senegal. While at this military camp, they found out that they weren't going to get the equal pay. Some people say the Senegalese troops protested. Others say they attacked their French officers at the camp. Others say this never happened, they got equal pay. But the theory with the most support is that the Senegalese troops protested, and the French officers men opened fire on them. Independence. Senegal gained its independence from French rule. The process of Senegal's getting independence was gradual. The first steps were taken when outcry people saying colonization without representation. So France gave 6 spots in the French parliament to Senegalese, of people of Senegalese origin. One of the Senegalese representatives was a future first president of Senegal. I'm just going to say here there's not a lot about how Senegal got its independence. The deals for Senegal and all of French Africa to get its freedom is French has access to the natural resources, and France has control of Senegal's currency. It goes for the rest of French Africa. Also, France has the right to operate military bases in Senegal and train the Senegalese army, which is good in my opinion. And the French foreign minister said, if these policies didn't exist, France wouldn't be a global superpower. The future of Senegal looks very bright, with a lot of foreign investment from China, which bring good and bad. The tourists bring from France, and the number of Americans and French citizens moving to Senegal. And the new mega projects such as Akon City, and also the completion of the largest shopping mall in West Africa in Cadillac.